Green light. We got one. Green light. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the Roundtable Talk podcast. Hal Nunn.
Ruben Castro.
And Chris Holland.
Inside the studios of Christian1057.com, WCLN 105.7 FM. More about them in a minute, although I don't have my script. We want to thank them for allowing us to use the studio, and might as well go ahead and plug it now. Just go to their dial, go to their website, Christian1057.com, WCLN 105.7 FM. They have on-air, live, streaming, app, and it's what faith sounds like. And what a perfect time for faith, right there, perfect time. And the Hoke County edition of the North State Journal is the only statewide newspaper in North Carolina covering local, state, local, state, national, and world news, college and pro sports, and a puzzle page, which is Ruben's favorite, and mine is Murphy DeManio, and Chris's. Which part do you like about the North State?
Probably the editorials.
Yeah, the editorials. We have a lot of editorials in this week's paper, and so check them out, hoke.northstatejournal.com, and subscribe today, 919-663-3232. There was an announcement we were supposed to make last show, so hopefully I'll remember to do it at the end. Anyway, the North State Media has started a media foundation, a nonprofit foundation, and they announced it a couple of weeks back. And what a really cool idea to get people involved in news and media and marketing and things like that. And hopefully some of that wave will come down our way. Also, our title sponsor, they've been here since day one. That's Rob Setzer sitting right there. Say hey to everybody on Facebook and on the interwebs galactic space station. Rob Setzer is a good friend of the podcast and a good friend of all of us. Has helped us. You heard me talk about it a lot, and Chris and Mark and Ruben. Rob is going to be our first guest today. Then he's going to either hang out or dip out, and then we'll continue on with the podcast. But anyway, fellas, here it is. We've been away for probably about 2 weeks now. And last time we were talking about the end of March, 1st of April, and now we're talking about April. And here it is, Easter, right in the middle. And I wanted to ask Ruben, because you said April's here, and I'm good. And it was almost freezing last week.
But it wasn't freezing, though.
No, it was close. It was close. It got pretty chilly last week here in Hoke County.
38.
It was 38, 37. I enjoy it. That's the part of the year I enjoy. You know, I'm not looking too forward into the heat stuff, but the pollen seems to have gone down.
Well, I think the pollen is over.
You think it's done?
Run its course,
I think it's done.
I pray that it has. It is difficult. And there's some more information on difficult when it comes to if you have breathing problems and asthma, and we will probably cover that when we talk about the water. But we're going to start off first with Rob Setzer and Raeford Guns. And the reason we're starting off with them is it's their 10th anniversary at their location at I'm going to have the address. What's the address, Rob?
5609 Fayetteville Road.
5609 Fayetteville Road, inside the gas station at Skull Road and Johnson Mill. Check them out during the week, Monday through Friday, 10 to 7.
Yes.
Got all right memory. He's normally at shows on the weekend, so you won't catch him there. So you'll catch him at Raeford Guns inside the gas station at Skull Road and Johnson Mill. As we've said before, you can go in there and get your snacks, drinks, tacos, candy, all the little convenience store items, but you can also buy a 9mm handgun or an AR-15 if you need one to work with. Rob, first of all, happy anniversary, man. It's this month, right?
Yes.
It's this month. And the other part we need to mention is, even though we're on Facebook right now, we may end up transitioning ourselves over to, we might transition. So be careful. We may transition. But they've sort of kicked Rob off of Facebook. And he is now on X, formerly known as Twitter, but it's probably now known as X more so than anything. And I want to make sure we give out that information. It's if you just search on X, please go there today. X Raeford Guns, or the actual handle is at Guns Raeford, no D, 79522, and he's going to work on getting that fixed. But they don't have their website yet, which is probably something else he's going to have to do because of Facebook. Facebook has become a little bit, how can we say, restrictive?
It's always been lacking First Amendment unless you're on the left side, you know. And it's sadly because I kind of think I know what happened, but it's always best if you're going to have a business on Facebook, it's always best to deactivate the comments, because comments, when people make comments on your Facebook page, they're nothing more than fishing you in.
Well, they're trying to stroke something.
They're trying to fish you in so they can use it against you. Even on my campaign page today, as soon as I make a post, I go back in there and I deactivate the comments, because you have to do that first, post and then deactivate. And it's plus it saves a lot of headaches, because I just got to tell you, if anything I've learned from being I hate to even say this word, a politician, is that there are truly people, they're evil people out there, and they're just nasty, and I think it's very unfair that businesses, especially small businesses.
Oh man,
this is clearly discrimination against small business. It's an attack on small businesses, and you know. But there's always a way around. I just wish that more people were on X. That's one of the bad things about X, is that I have an X account, and it's just not. It's one of the. I think that one of the discriminators between Facebook and X is that in Facebook you can do much more.
yeah, there's more things allowed.
So let's expand on that, Rob. You know, you were telling me a couple weeks ago that, you know, brick and mortar, you being a gun store, brick and mortar
Correct.
stores are supposed to be authorized to advertise on Facebook. Where I, as a private citizen, I can't get on there and say, hey, I have a 12 gauge for sale, you know, send me a message. Rob, as a brick and mortar, you had numerous instances where you've been banned and you've had to come back and rebut that. Tell us something about that.
Yeah, I've had them remove posts before, but I would dispute it if they put it back on, because I know obviously I can't put on there. You got to be careful what you put on there. I used to put the blurb on there. We are a brick and mortar federal licensed business. All state and federal laws will apply. No private sales. No. If someone would ask me how much, you know, I got a DM or something like that, I can't post it on there. The post that got removed, and then they put it back on after I disputed it, and then they still banned me, was there was a gun show in Aberdeen. This is the hours. Come see us.
Right.
I don't put pictures of guns on there. I don't do lives with pictures of guns. I don't put anything like that, because you're always going to get people saying, send it to my house. I'm just going to come in and buy it. You don't need background checks.
Right.
So you can't physically sell, like receive money and things like that on there. But you can, it's, and I wish you could cut and paste their rules and put that in your rebuttal, but they won't let you.
Oh, really?
Why do you feel this was incorrect that we removed your post?
Right, because
Yeah.
you said I could, and now you're saying I
You
can't.
can go on there and you could say it doesn't break the rules, and then they give you like 4 choices. It was a joke. It was this. It was this, and I
was
said
a
does
joke.
not violate guidelines, and it's verbatim,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter.
So what's the difference between what you just said, that the reason why it was removed or you were banned or whatever, is that you said you're having an event in Aberdeen from this time to this time, come and see us, and me having an event, a political event, and say I'm gonna be here at this location, at this neighborhood between this hour and this hour, come and see me, let's talk. What's the
Yeah.
difference? And I put pictures in a video.
I mean, there's machine gun pages on Facebook. There's all kind of different, you know, but it's the same thing. You can't, even though it says you can promote, you know, a licensed business can promote. We never did that. The same thing with a lot of other online things, the neighborhood page, the same thing with Facebook. Every day they'll send me stuff. If you advertise, you'll increase your reach by this much.
Right.
So I went and I said, okay, I'll spend some money. Oh, your content? No, we can't do that.
Right, and so I found that with our political page as well, and it's all an algorithm at first, right? It hones on keywords and automatically blocks you, like you said.
So
the
you
other day,
try not to
as
use
soon as you
keywords.
posted, you had like 3 seconds and you were logged out and blocked. But same thing, it'll go through an algorithm. Then you do the dispute. You say, hey, this is not in violation, whatever. Then it goes to a mediator or an adjudicator, a human person, and they'll start sending you some emails and stuff like that. And I found it really depends on who actually looks at it, their biases,
Of course.
whether they'll let it go through or not. And then they'll send you a suggestion. Oh, remove this verbiage or whatever. And it's just it's control. It's censorship and it's media control. So it's very unfortunate that the free expression of ideas is what's supposed to be social media is not happening.
Yeah, because I had almost 6,000 people on there, and they're people from all over. So but I have to assume there's at least 600, 700 in North Carolina, maybe more.
Right.
Probably more.
And I would have people saying, "Oh, you're going to be in Greensboro? We'll see you there." Stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Basic stuff. People ask me questions. I can answer their questions. People don't like to call or text anymore. They just don't like to call. They will not.
Oh no, they won't call.
They will not call.
They won't call. Trust me.
And that's all I do is call somebody.
All right, we're talking with Rob Setzer of Raeford Guns, our inaugural sponsor, and they're continuing on with us today. And we got him here for his 10th anniversary. 10 years, man. Did you plan that, or did you just say I want to try something, or how did your thought process go?
Well, hold on a second. Before you answer that question, Rob, just for the audience, you already have a strong customer base. You already an established small business.
Yes.
So really, Facebook was just an added tool for you to reach out to other people outside the county, but you already have a customer base that it's, regardless whether you have Facebook or not, you still move forward.
Yeah, it was just so much easier to let people know, because depending on what we're doing that weekend, if we're going further away or certain shows, it's very difficult to set up at the show. Raleigh's a classic example of that. It's feast or famine. It's every man for himself. People blocking doors. It's horrible. So we go on Friday to set up. And the same thing with Fayetteville. We'll go on Friday to set up. So we will not be open on Friday. So the best thing for me to do is go on Facebook and say, hey,
we're not open.
We're going to be, I usually try to do it on Monday. Come and say, hey, we're going to be here. And sometimes I come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'm there till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Because we do gunsmithing. We work on stuff. I clean stuff. I got paperwork.
We haven't even got there yet.
So it never ends. But so I like to say, hey, or somebody will call me and say, hey, I'm working till this time, because a lot of places close it.
Regular hours. Yeah.
I'm always there till at least 7. Sometimes later. So that's good for the people that are, the
working people.
Yeah,
working people.
Well, the working folk. And, the other part is we hadn't mentioned, because we want to talk about a lot, but we don't want to talk for an hour and a half on one subject. The gunsmithing portion. I'm understanding that there's unless there's someone we're unaware of, there's no other retail physical location in the county that you can bring a gun to get fixed, and that's his store. Do you your law enforcement experience, do you remember any physical locations?
The nearest location that can modify, fix, triggers, something that's broken. The one, because I had an experience where I had to get something fixed, was in Scotland County. Even, I was surprised, even Jim's Pawn Shop, which I'm not promoting them, by the way.
Unless they want to work a deal.
They could not do this. So, most, let me give you an example. Most revolvers have an 8+ pound finger pressure. Okay, if you ever fire a gun, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But normally revolvers are a little bit harder to shoot, and so if you have a what I would call a master armor, they know how to fix that trigger to where they can drop it down to 6 pound pressure, and you'd be surprised. That is a
Absolutely.
major difference because I don't have it anymore. Too noisy. I had a 357 Magnum, a special one, 7 shots. Normally it's 5 or 6. But I tell you what, by the time you aim and squeeze, it was going somewhere else because it was too hard. So then when I was working in Scotland County Sheriff's Office, I met this guy. He said, yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's actually a pawn shop, but they got their own armor. I went over there. I said, oh, yeah, what do you want? I said, well, I don't want it too light. And it was the pressure was 8.5 pounds.
The original pressure.
The original pressure, and that's a lot.
Yeah,
and
pretty strong for
he dropped it down to 6 pounds of pressure, and I tell you what,
big difference.
Oh my! I mean, it was like an automatic weapon, except that it's a little bit more different. So that is the big difference. So I don't know of anybody else other than Rob here that can do stuff like that. Like I said, even Jim's pawn shop couldn't even do what I was asking for.
What's
there's so 2 things. One, to get back to your original question, but we'll do that second.
Okay.
The gunsmithing thing, there's no brick and mortar place. There's a couple guys that graduated from the school in Fayetteville, and they're like home based. They, but I haven't really had experience with them, seeing what they do, what they don't do, except for a couple Cerakote guys. You got to look at their work. You got to see.
Well, some probably specialize in particular weapons too, correct? I mean,
everybody around Fayetteville can work on an AR-15. They're
what?
Most popular rifle.
Like old double action revolver, like he's saying. We worked on Civil War guns. We worked on all kinds of stuff. So there's not too many. I even have some pawn shops in the adjacent counties that bring stuff to me, because what they do is they just sell them. Then it'll work. People bring them back. Then they bring them to me. I fix them, give them a good deal.
Or they get one in and they've bought from somebody that pawned it and it has a problem, right?
Right before hunting season, my buddy gave me an awesome deal on a Remington Model 1100. I can't believe the deal was awesome. And they go and shoot, it doesn't work.
Doesn't fire.
That was
the deal was too good to be true.
That was my first shotgun, the Remington 1100 light Coventry 20 gauge.
Yep. And then to get back to your first question, I started off wanting to do gunsmithing. I was still in the Army. I didn't retire until 2018.
Okay.
So in 2013, I wanted to do gunsmithing. But of course, being a good soldier and not want to get in trouble and get, I went to the ATF and said, hey, what do I have to do this, do this? And they said, you have to get an FFL. So I'm like, okay. Did all that stuff. And he said, hey, you can sell guns. I said, well, I'm not really interested.
Not into it.
I just want to do gunsmithing. It's what I enjoy to do. He's like, okay, but you got this. And he gave me distributor information, all that stuff. So I started doing that a little bit. And then when I went to my shop, the sales took over, parts, ammunition, things like that. But I enjoy gunsmithing.
It's everybody that I've ever met seems to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not something they're doing unless it's a big company that they're working for and they dread going in every day. But even when you meet someone that does gunsmithing, it's fun for them to do it.
I mean, you got to look at it this way, and men can relate to what I'm about to say. A gun is like a Harley Davidson. You can never polish it enough. You just can't. I mean, who's going to disagree with that?
No. I mean,
sometimes you gotta go open up the box just to look
just
at it,
to
make
look
sure
at
it's
it,
still there.
make sure it's still there, feel it, touch it. All right, let's move on to some of the other topics here. All right, we've all understood about the tariffs, the big word of the day. We're not getting into that part of it, all the tariffs. Maybe we will after Rob's gone, or after we're done with his portion. But it is affecting, or has, or will affect ammo prices, gun manufacturing, gun prices, stuff like that. And I understand that some of the manufacturers, even of ammunition, are offering an alternative to that. Not necessarily because of all the tariffs, but it's something they're going to concentrate on. So let's just go, for example, you have a box of 9mm ammunition, and how much is it going for today? Let's say federal. You have a price on that? Or remember, I'm trying to put them on the spot now. Roughly,
Yeah, I mean the target stuff is generally going to be below $20 a box.
right?
Between $15 and $18, depending on. They're all different. They have different projectiles, different weights, different. They'll market
So
it as
it's even
subsonic,
hard to-
and it'll, even though it's a 147, all of it's subsonic. They'll market it and sell it for a little bit more, but it's so that's about the price range for that.
So I'm understanding some of the companies like Federal Ammunition and Remington are offering rebates. And that is one way that people will still be able to purchase their ammunition and get a little kickback or get off a rebate. You know, rebates work. You got to buy it, and then you send in your life story, and they'll send you 20 cents or something like that. But it is a way that rebates and promotions. But these tariffs and these things that are being put on the countries, you made a good point the other day that it's actually going to force people to build stuff, make stuff here in America. It might grow up. It might get bigger. Is that what you're seeing or what you heard? Or
That's what's absolutely going to happen. I mean, if you have a choice, you could buy a Hollow Sun sight for $300, or you can buy a Trichicon,
well, Hollison, where is it made?
China,
Okay, and the other one.
and even police departments use Hollow Sun optics on their gun. Raleigh PD, I've seen a bunch of them, and which surprised me because I was like, you should be using Aimpoint or Trichicon, a U.S. made
A U.S.
company.
made.
But
Probably contracts.
I mean,
and things like
budgets,
that.
how much stuff costs. But if you have a choice between a Hollow Sun and a Trichicon, they're the same price.
You're going to buy
gonna the
America.
American-made product.
Absolutely.
Well, see, and that's something with the tariffs. In conjunction with tariffs, this whole story isn't just about tariffs. It's
No.
about trade barriers. So the government of China subsidizes its industry base, right? So that's like they're talking about Temu. You know, you go on Temu and you buy something for $10 or whatever. I remember Dan Bishop back when he was in Congress last year. He cited a study that said across the board, Temu loses $35 for every product it ships to the U.S. Well, it loses that, but then it's subsidized by the Chinese government. Chinese government pays these companies to keep manufacturing this cheap stuff at a reduced rate with the idea that they're going to undermine our manufacturers, right? Just like the
So really, it's to destroy us.
It's to destroy us. It's to make us dependent on foreign suppliers, foreign manufacturing, and at the end of the day, our economy suffers because the jobs go away. And second, we're in a noose. We're in a vice. You know, if it ever comes to actual conflict, they just cut off our medicine. They cut off our steel. They cut off all these products. And what are we going to do? You can't ramp up manufacturing in 6 months. You know, it takes a while to build that base.
Well, let me add to what Chris has just said. This has been going on for years. Yes, both parties are guilty of that, but mainly the Democratic Party. Every chance that they've had, they have forced or encouraged manufacturing companies like Ford. We got Ford. They build parts. They manufacture vehicles in Canada and Mexico. If you look at the somebody was just saying something not too long about this. As an example, you got my GMC truck built here. But if you look at the inventory of the truck, of all the parts, where they were built, some were built in Canada, some were made in Mexico. They were not built in China, but that is the point. And you got to remember, not too long ago, and it was in my lifetime when I was 12, 15 years old, we had a thriving economy. Several locations were known for big car companies. Detroit, big car company.
Deerfield.
Motor City.
Yeah, Deerfield. Big,
Deerfield, yeah.
Big companies, and this has been a Marxist, socialist, communist agenda by the Democrats mainly to push all of these companies abroad, mainly China now. Okay, and so what happens is, like Chris said, the goal is for America to become dependent. And And nothing was more on display when this was very obvious during COVID. When all the COVID
yeah.
supplies, you know, and it was the red flags was there because there was already news that China was hoarding all the masks, all the aspirators and everything else. And then when everything went down, what was it? President Trump had to enact the Manufacturing Act to make sure that we build
National security.
all that stuff. And so this didn't happen under Obama while he influenced it. It's been going on for years. I would say probably 30, 40 years. It's been going on, and I'm just glad. It's good that Trump was not consecutively the president because he learned on that. It's bad that if we lose, which I hope we don't, if we lose the House and the Senate and the midterms.
Yeah, you got to get out there and continue to.
So you gotta. That's. I mean, it hurts me. It hurts me to know that. Look, farmers get money so they don't farm by the federal government. Think about that for a moment. Think about that. U.S. farmers get money from the federal government so they don't farm.
To back off a
To
little
back
bit,
off,
or
yes.
This remind me of the that the families got paid, or the females got paid money to stay home, and for the kids it's sort of the same thing. They want to make you dependent.
That's right, and so now we should not owe any country any money. If anything, they should be owing us because the last time I remember, Ukraine was the last example. How much money did we give these people from the American tax?
Crazy amounts. Crazy
And
amounts.
we're not going to get this money back, but who's paying it? We all are. We are all paying for that.
Actually, we're not paying it right now. We're borrowing it. Our children and grandchildren are going to pay it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, until we get some of this stuff back, and that's the whole Elon Musk thing. So I guess now we'll transition. Anything else you want to mention about Raeford guns? We'll move on to the next story.
I just wanted to ask real quick. We've seen
Stay on this mic.
We see over the years that regulations. The ATF has come out with crazy, definitions of guns and stuff like that. Has that impacted you over your 10 years? Is it rise and fall with the times, or is it kind of not negligible at your level, or how does that work?
It has. When they had the zero tolerance policy, they just changed. I got a warning letter from the ATF. This is just an example about how they do things. An IOI is the person that comes. They're not an agent. They're the person that comes and inspects your inventory, your paperwork. Believe it or not, the paperwork is more important to them than the actual firearms are.
Right.
Absolutely.
The paperwork is more important. Which,
It's like car sales.
you gotta play by the rules. So, but I had a big deal where I tell people it doesn't matter if you have the answer to the test. If the guy who's grading the test tells you that's not
That's not correct answer.
Well, it's right here in the book. It's right.
Mm-hmm.
It says it right here in the book. This is the regulation. Well, I wouldn't recommend doing it like that. Do it like this, and then that's the guy that's going to inspect you next time. So when you do it by the book, he's going to be like, "Oh, hey, I thought I told you."
I gave you a warning, right?
So yeah. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I had an issue with the New York SAFE Act, right? So I told I was in violation of that, and I asked him how. He said he didn't know.
But you're in violation.
He'll get back to me.
How does the New York SAFE Act apply to a North Carolina dealer?
We have to know the state laws of every state.
Okay.
So I have to know that I can't sell an AR-15 with a threaded muzzle brake, detachable mag to New York, New Jersey,
Air quotes
Illinois,
assault rifle.
right, California. But they have a SAFE Act. And I read it, but I can argue and I can articulate, sir, this is what it says. Here's a printout.
Right.
Well, we think you violated anyway because it says shall not disposition into the state of New York. That's their state law.
So when you sell it, you obviously have to see their identification.
Right. The guy was a doctor who lives and works in Raleigh.
But he had
a fishing license, a hunting license from the state with his local address. He was not going back to New York.
But his license.
But he had just got here. He still had a New York license, so that's fine. I had a document showing his residency here, and it's a long rifle, so I can sell from
Yeah, I would
somebody that's
say
out
you
of state.
can't sell pistols to out-of-state residents
Now, if
anyway,
he said,
right?
"I'm from New York. Here's my driver's license," I said, "Sir, I can't sell you that." You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what the law. So there's a lot
Nuances.
there's a lot of gray, and it's kind of tough because you gotta err on the side of caution, obviously,
Right.
because they could have took my license for that, even
Wow.
though I did not violate it. So you got to know what you're, and so there's
Just
a lot of
sounds-
people
So
that
do you have a lawyer on speed dial?
part of my insurance
Right.
is legal
Is legal.
for ATF stuff. But,
Okay.
I mean, we go over all of our files. I comb through everything. My wife's a responsible person on my license. She'll look at stuff. At the end of the month, I do an audit of myself for everything, because it used to be. Now I don't know if it's going to change or not. It's supposed to, but it used to be like a small thing.
Yeah, a minor
done.
function.
I mean, license gone. So it's
Sanctions or fines and whatever.
right. They can fine you. They can just say, "Oh, revocation of your license. You can't have an FFL anymore."
You
Well,
said
and let me tell you the reason why he said something about most of the time, really, they emphasize most on the forms, because that's how they get you, because the way their law is that you are providing fraudulent information on a government form. And that's where they get you at, because when you get your license to sell, you agree to a lot of stuff, and it's like when you go over to a gun show and you have all the right stuff to buy a pistol, and you still gotta answer certain questions, and they'll ask you, "Are you a convicted felon?" And you say, "No, but you are." Well,
that goes for voting as well.
Yeah, when you sign it, it says you are.
yeah.
It's a felony if you lie on the street.
That's
Committed
right.
perjury,
That's what it is. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
All right, we're gonna wrap this one up. You said the word test, and it prompted me to look at my notes. I forgot who said it, so I apologize for it. When you hear the folks say guns kill people, it's like saying pencils fail tests.
That's right. I
Yeah.
heard that. I heard that before.
You've heard it where? Do you
I
remember
heard
where?
that.
Because I'm trying to give them credit.
Yeah. It was in a news media somewhere that they were talking about the Second Amendment.
The Second Amendment.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
I heard it before.
Raeford Guns on X until they get up there. Maybe Facebook, if you're listening, watching, put them back on there, man. You can tell the man's doing the right thing. On X, search for Raeford Guns, or their handle is Guns Raeford without the D at the end. But you'll pull it up. Guns Raeford Guns. It'll pull up on Twitter. I tried it last night. So, Rob, congrats on 10 years, man, and hopefully 10 more. And have you ever thought about expanding out of the gas station?
No, no, I'm not going to. I mean, I already work 7 days a week. I go unless I hired a bunch of people. I enjoy doing it. We go to gun shows on the weekends. We travel. I enjoy finding rare guns, buying rare guns. selling
Man,
rare
you
guns.
and my brother-in-law would get along great on the rare gun finds, because he is. I can remember. I think I told y'all about the guy who started Delta Force. Oh, I'm gonna forget his name.
Perchenko.
Colonel.
or,
No, Colonel. The Colonel.
Hackworth.
Hackworth.
No, we're close. We're very close.
Was it Beckwith?
Beckwith. That's it.
It was one of those.
One of
Haney,
those.
You were
Haney was
close.
one of the sergeant majors.
Yeah,
so-
they were Beckwith.
Beckwith.
I went to his house. Got to hold his first ring. Oh, I wish I'd have took a picture, but he was getting old and he passed away after that. Anyway, Rob, thanks for coming on, man. And he said he was going to maybe hang out for a little bit, so hang out. And we've already been 30 minutes, so we got to move on. So the first thing I had on my list, guys, was Rob, and that's done. Now it's talking about the water. You want to go there? Are you ready to roll? You ready to get into it?
Yeah.
I'll start it off. Obviously, last weekend, was it last weekend or weekend before last?
Last weekend.
Last weekend on Thursday, I got a message about a water leak actually I got about, not exaggerating, 12 to 15 people messaging saying, "Hey, we're out of water in Rockfish." And of course I go to the county's page, I go to the little blog thing they got at the top of the blog roll at the top of their website looking for water, and there's nothing out there. and it got fired up. I think it became a pretty big story, and it became, newspapers got involved. I'm not sure if any radios did. I know a couple podcast people reached out to us to talk about it. But, and if you catch this week, I'm going to first give big credit to Catherine Shepard for the writing she did on the report from Monday night on that story. And if you go there, you'll see it from the News Journal in reference to the water situation. And I don't know, it had to be thousands of people or hundreds, close to thousands of people going offline. And then the conflicting stories were coming out about how it happened. Look, when you go to work on water systems, you're going to have, we've seen them already. The problem is, I think a lot of the times people see too many. It's happening a lot. And it happens all over the county. Water main break. Remember last fall there was, almost
several.
every weekend or something there was a water main break, and the cable people, the utility people,
So to be fair,
contractors.
So to be fair, Monday night the commissioners did commit to more transparency, more information, dissemination or whatever. And I think that's what got everybody in the uproar
Not
initially,
knowing.
is not knowing what's going on, right? And then so the water went out for a little while
Thursday.
and then they fixed it with a temporary patch, and then they turned it off again to permanently fix it without telling anybody. Nobody knew what happened last night. And then all of a sudden,
It was-
it's like, well, what happened?
It was
Well,
stone
where's
silence.
the information from our leadership on what's going on and what's happening? But like I said, to give credit to the commissioners, we'll see how they've followed through with it. They have committed to, we got to work on our information dissemination. So we'll see how that goes. But talking about the people and the dissent, is social media is just toxic. It's just volatile, and it's
Especially
just
Facebook.
people, especially Facebook, and so that's where it blew up. And I think that Alan Thomas, to his credit as well, he was the first one to come on and say, "Hey, this is what we know. This is kind of what's going on," and started trying to quell some of the disruption
Because it was growing.
the outrage, because it was very, very much growing. And then, but the people that the way they talk to each other, has just become toxic. It's like, and
You
to
said it.
Jessie Brown's credit, she posted a letter, a self-authored letter here in the newspaper this week about just, we're all community, we're all in this together, and let's talk to each other. You can have debates, you can have, disagreements, but the way that you present that to each other and the way that you treat somebody else that disagrees with you, it's just a sign of your own character, right? So with that said, people that jump on there and the first thing they go to is racist. You're a racist.
Yep.
That is just such a tired, worn out
Just burned out.
accusation, right? There is nothing racist about disagreeing or calling out inept leadership, having a disagreement with the future, the vision of the future of the community. That's colorblind, and it's small-minded people that jump on there. Oh, you're saying that because you're white and the local government's black,
Or you're a Republican.
or you're a Republican.
Because
too.
there's where I wanted.
Yeah.
I stomped all over you. I'm sorry.
No,
but
no,
I
and
wanted
so
to say-
I was told, different people were talking about this video that Commissioner Sutherland and Leach put out. I didn't get to see it before it was taken down.
It's out there still.
Is it?
Well,
Yeah.
part of it.
The main part in question is out there.
Yeah, but there
Yeah.
was other parts that they tried to explain away the situation, and it wasn't lining up with what people were saying on social media
Yeah.
who had internal knowledge of what was going on.
Okay.
There was different.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a water leak or a water break that's affecting thousands of residents and their quality of life is not a political Republican Democrat thing. It's a community thing, and it's a local leadership, whether you step in to address the situation, whether you keep the people informed of what you're doing to address the situation, and just communication. That's the breakdown, was the communication.
Well,
it's not political.
Well, listen. The last bad storm we had, that we had at least one or 2 locations in Arabia Road that a water pipe broke. Unbeknownst to me, one of the locations was almost in front of my property.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't tell because it had been raining and the grass was the ground was
soaked.
saturated. And so eventually, this is what happened. This is where the failure's at, and I think it started with the company that damaged the water pipeline.
Well, that's part of it.
But
I'll let
I'm
you
going to
finish.
get to something, okay? Now, doing the right thing is this. The company damages a water pipe. They should have called the Hoke County Utilities Department immediately, because the Hoke County Utilities Department is the one responsible for collecting the money for those that get water from the county. I know because I'm one of them. Okay? And so therefore that was the first break. How much time was it? How much time was it before this company knew what they did and the communication to the right department? Okay? Because I think that communication was never happened, because Rockfish area, how they found out was that you turn the water faucet on and there's no water. I say this to say this. When we had that issue in Arabia area, we received a message. I subscribed to them via text message. I received a text message and said, hey, we're having problems locating we have low pressure. We were still getting water, but it was low pressure. And we're having problems locating the source where it busted. And so, I even got on the truck. I'm expecting to see a blow of water, but I never saw nothing. Unbeknownst to me, it's almost in front of my property. And so eventually, they found one location. They fixed it, but we still had weak pressure. So they discovered we still have another location.
Somewhere else.
We're still looking. It's somewhere in Arabia Road. And, Arabia Road is a long road. And, I went all the way from the beginning to the end. I can't find anything. So I gave up. I said, okay, I'm going to let the professionals handle it. Eventually, we got another message. We have identified the second location, and they gave me the block number, said, man, this is in front of my house.
This is right here.
And lo and behold, the message says, we identified the location. We're going to be out of water for 2 hours. Okay, so I say this to say this. The company that created the damage did not communicate with Hoke County Utilities Department, because had they communicated, those affected would have known what's going on. And yes, I leave it up to the county commissioners, but you got to understand something, and that applies that also to the school board members. I speak for myself, okay? I don't get into the weeds. And I don't believe that the county commissioner should also get into the weeds. This is why they have department heads.
Yep.
They have department heads, okay? Now, I really think if I was a county commissioner, I would be reprimanding that company for failure to report. Because I guarantee you, from the time it was damaged, I don't think it was reported, because nobody ever got a message. So that tells me that it was never reported.
Or they decided not to report it. See, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing they decided not to report it.
Irrelevant, the right thing was not done. By the company that did the damage, it was not, the right thing was not done.
There's also a part where the company is saying that, well, they didn't say that on their apology post. They apologize for disruption and all this other stuff. But those that are familiar with the company or have people that either work there or working with them said that they were sent out to work on a line that was supposedly completely off and dead, not working. So if I'm going out there to work on a line that's dead, old, and plus, note, these lines in Rockfish are, they saying 70 years old. They're saying they've been, so there's another point I want to make. Let me make this point, is this growth that we've had, that everybody's complained about to a certain degree. We've had Senator Britt sitting in this room to talk about it. or on the line. I don't remember if he was in the room or on the line. You know, better to have it than to not have it, correct. But when you have this growth, you got to be prepared for it. And I think, and they even said this a few months back in the meeting, we did not think it was going to go this big. We did not think the growth was going to be this much. So at that moment, or if not before that, who was thinking about the 70-year-old water lines?
Yeah, the long-term
the
fix.
long-term fix.
Nobody.
That's what concerns
Nobody.
me.
Well, I want to make 2 points. So first off, my understanding was as soon as they breached the pipe, they called the utilities. Utilities thought that it was an inactive line, right? And so that's why there was no notification. There was no push really to really get it fixed. Second of all, 70-year-old pipes, and if you read the statements, it says that they were there
Or watch the
when
video.
the county incorporated Rockfish. And I'm like, wait a minute. Isn't Rockfish been part of Hoke County the entire time that Hoke County's been a thing?
Yeah, but they had a
It has.
separate.
Right.
I guess they were in charge of their separate water, like Hillcrest.
I've never heard them. I don't know. But
No, I have heard.
regardless, we're back to the point
Right.
that the utility department needs to be upgraded. You know, Brian Williams, I know him. He works for the federal government out here on Fort Bragg for whatever, range control or whatever. But GIS is a powerful tool if it's updated, if it's maintained correctly. It's not just for looking at, you know, random power line
Or addresses.
property boundaries or tax cards. You know, there's layers to that. You can look at electrical infrastructure, water infrastructure,
Water.
sewer. You know, all of that stuff can be compiled into that. So then when something happens, the utility department pulls up that sector and goes, oh, yeah,
Oh,
there is a line in there. We need to fix that. You know, so there's just multiple stuff that with the growth hasn't been thought through for the long term.
But I'm gonna add to what Chris said, but I'm going to put blame on the company, and I'm gonna tell you why. I saw this. I witnessed this myself when I was getting my home constructed. As we know, we got water coming in, we got power coming in, and other stuff. And every time a major phase was moving forward, i.e. water coming in or power coming in, that company responsible to do that phase will come in with their surveyor, with their specialized person to identify, to make sure that where they're going to dig, there isn't a hot power line, there isn't a water source. We knew that there was no water county coming into my 6 acres of land. But they still came in and checked because they were going to dig a lot.
Right.
And so my point to this is that this is not an unexperienced company. Okay, so we can, you know, these people can be blaming each other, but the bottom line is that this is an example of many entities fail to do the right thing. They fail to do the right thing. I am the company, and I call utilities work and say, hey, we just busted a pipe. Oh, I thought that line is not supposed to be acted. Regardless whether it's supposed to be or not,
Water's
I'm
coming.
telling you, there's
There's
water
water.
coming out. Right there, somebody should have said, that's an easy, because everybody that gets water
Is
from
connected.
the county has a phone. Everybody. Boom, send out. It was a failure, and I really think it was preventable, starting with the company. Yeah, starting with the company.
Unless they got bogus information from the county.
My point is that it doesn't matter. The company should have been responsible enough to, what is it? Trust but verified.
Trust but verified.
Trust but verified.
All right. Anything else on water, fellas?
I think we covered
You
that
got
one.
water. I got water. Oh. One point I wanted to make about water is finally had my water tested.
Yeah.
And
How'd that work out for you?
we have an abundance of chlorine in our water, over chlorinated water. And I have some breathing issues. And over chlorination of water is a factor in people that have breathing issues. And I'm ordering or working on the possibility of getting the right type of filter to come filter the whole home. I want the whole home filtered. I don't want my wife having to drink it, my child, grandchild, whoever, when they come. I want good water. So we weren't affected by the water. So now I'm sending it off for the next level test, which is more expensive. This one was done. I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. Thomas Plumbing of Raeford will go around and test your water for you.
What's the
Now
price?
they're going to be mad. They did it for free. They did it. Now they use the outside water, which is the same water, and they will test it. And they also sell and service the filters.
So let me ask you this: you're talking about filters. So are you referring to? I'm making an assumption that you have a refrigerator with a water filter.
I do have one with the water filter.
So that water filter in the refrigerator is still not stopping all the excessive.
He didn't test the refrigerator water filter. He tested it from the spigot outside.
Okay.
So you don't have to be home. It's a gracious thing for them to do because you got to send a guy out. He's going to take a few minutes, take a bottle, send it in, and then they take it back. If you ever have your pool water tested over at the pool place in Fayetteville, it gives you those counts. So I'm taking the water there. That's the free one. But now I want a more detailed account about what's in my water. And so I'm going to have to pay for that one. But I'm going to do it. So I want to give first Thomas Plumbing a credit. And I want to also let people know that if you have breathing issues or anything like, there's some other ones, gastro and things like that, look it up. Over chlorinated water.
One question. Was your test previous to or after the break in Rockfish?
It was after the break no, it was before the break because Melanie asked me the same thing because they probably treated the water more. I'm like, first of all, we weren't affected at the time.
It doesn't matter. It comes from the point of
But it was
distribution,
actually they tested it and we found this out because I knew what happened the day before. It was Wednesday.
Okay.
The day before the water line break Thursday night, my water was tested high chlorination.
Okay, but listen to this. I'm going to try to articulate this statement as much as possible. Okay.
30 seconds.
TikTok.
I wasn't affected. You were not affected. I know when I get affected, you get affected.
Right.
So somehow our web is connected with the water. Okay? But those in Rockfish area, they got affected. When they got affected, we were not affected. That tells me that there is probably multiple
Trunk lines.
Yes. There are probably multiple locations. So is it possible that whatever it's coming into Hoke County from Cumberland, not everybody's getting that?
I don't know.
It's a good point.
Whether it's a closed loop or
I was always thinking that because my wife is the one that told me about it. Said, "Well, you better get ready. We still have water from the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready." And she says, "No, we still got plenty of water from the last break." And then we were waiting. I hope you took a shower. Yep. And we're waiting for the water to go out, but the water never went out. I said, "Well, that's when I was like, okay, we are all not connected with the same pipe."
Pull up the GIS and do what Ruben said and pull up the lines and see what happens. I guess we need to start wrapping it up, but I got 8 more topics. So anyway,
well, I do want to talk about something. Okay, this is coming from the North State Journal, the Hoke County edition.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I know it's a great paper. And this here talks about the Senate bill revisits gender in public spaces. And I still can't believe that we're still dealing with this, okay? Senate Bill 516 filed by Senator Vicky Sawyer, Republican from Iredell County, will standardize the definition terms related to biological sex. I cannot believe that people are still confused that there's only men and women and boys and girls. There's nothing else. There is nothing else. I can't believe this. That we're still.
It takes a law.
That we're still. You don't have to provide me a law so I can tell you that I am a man. I was born a man and I'm gonna die a man. That's the bottom line.
That's his new COVID, ain't it?
Yeah.
This is new COVID.
All right.
I can
So
tell.
I have a
What
couple
you-
announcements to make real
All right.
quick. Something that I was talking with one of the board members from the 82nd Airborne Museum yesterday.
Ooh.
And unfortunately, the 82nd Airborne Museum on Ardennes is slated to close as of Doge cuts.
What?
So this board member told me that there's only 3 federal employees that work there. The majority of the operations are handled by volunteers and donations, but it's also the 3rd most visited museum in the museum circuit. So it's pretty popular, right? So I just tell you out there, talk to Richard Hudson.
Fix your glass thing. Cord popped off.
They're just here to see, but here to see, read. But Richard Hudson is the congressman for Fort Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to him. He's also our representative here
Yes,
in
sir.
Hoke County. Tell him your thoughts on closing the 82nd Airborne Division Museum. You know, the heritage, the lineage that museum represents, and just the history that's encapsulated there in that museum it needs to be preserved. So let's talk to him about that real quick. And then I want to make announcements about the conventions. Tomorrow is the 9th District Convention. If you've got the emails, I've sent out the registration links, but registration check-in is 12:30 to 1:30. Convention starts at 1:30, probably lasts about 2.5 hours, so 4:30 will probably be done.
That's the Republican Party
That's
9th District
Right,
Convention.
right.
So if
And
you're
then-
part of Hoke, you're part of the 9th.
Exactly.
That's
And then our monthly meeting, you know, as usual, 17 April, 7:30 at PK's Grill.
There's a lot going on. February, March, and April are
Yeah.
jam-packed busy.
Let me add one more thing.
Okay.
And I can't believe we're still dealing with this, okay? And those that, you know, we have 2 philosophies in America. We have those that want to make America great again, because it wasn't great for a long time. And then the other thought process is, let's go ahead and destroy America, because I hate what everything America stands for. And so the Senate of North Carolina has passed a bill to get rid of DEI statewide. So I'm just saying there's more ammunition for you that can't handle when I speak. Go ahead and think about what I just said too. And you have a good day.
And we're all going to have a great day. I wanted to mention, you know, I was able to attend the funeral and the burial or interment for Neil Daniel Fry, the sailor who died in Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, USS West Virginia. There's his little the funeral information. We got pictures on the front page of the paper there. Really cool how they did that. A lot of people showed up from Hoke County because he was born in Hoke County, but then later the laws changed and they remapped everything and it became Vass, North Carolina. So he was originally born in Hoke County. That's why it was so important to everybody here. We're looking to do some stuff to recognize his family, probably on the Memorial Day for that ceremony. Vets for Vets is trying to pull off something in the weekend. So honor and respect to his family. What a cool thing that was. We had the Buffalo Soldiers, the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, several other military entities that were there representing that. So that was the Neil Fry. You saw this week at the county commissioners meeting that they are going to be the head of their own housing authority. They're going to make their own decisions for the housing authority. So they're going to be your landlord if you're part of it. And
let me. I see nothing but trouble with that. I see
speechless, right?
It's almost speechless.
I equate that to a bank where you have the safe that has gold, silver, diamonds, and many millions of dollars of customers, and you have 2 combinations, and it can only be opened by 2 people, and each one cannot know the other combination, but the manager knows both
Yeah,
combinations.
the master key,
I
right?
got a
I
master
just
key.
I just don't know what else to say about that. I just see nothing but potential problems on that.
And the Supreme Court race about the case between Griffin
Riggs and
and
Griffin. Yes.
what's the other lady's name? It's coming to-
Riggs.
Riggs.
There's
There-
364 people that will be affected
in
in
Hoke,
Hoke County.
in Hoke
Exactly.
County, people that had their voting record is not complete
Exactly.
for some
Or-
reason.
Yes, or they're absentee, did not have an ID card,
Right.
or they
Something.
weren't a resident of Hoke County. I don't think we have any of those.
And the other story in the Hoke edition of the North State Journal is North Carolina Central University was found to have a major error of $45 million. A university has a $45 million error, and it's a publicly supported
To the
university.
good or the bad?
To the
Bad.
bad. Yeah, wrong.
Well, Dave Bullock's,
Somebody's been
he used to be on the
that
board
that
for
ranks up there with this housing thing.
Check out all your Easter services at our favorite churches, Rockfish Church down here. Our church, First Baptist, is having one. Have our singing this weekend, but our other friendly churches here that y'all know have friends of. It is the true reason, though, we're here is because the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and that's where our focus needs to be. So I'm going to tend to push my focuses more in that direction over the next few weeks.
We're going to have another service or another podcast before Easter.
We might. I don't know
Yes,
where I'm
yes.
at, but at some point I'm going to be flying out of the state to see my oldest. So
All right.
no dates. All right. Thank you very much,
wrap it up, yeah.
Rob, for being here and listening to all the mumbo jumbo. We want to thank Raeford Guns on X. Go to X today, tomorrow, and anytime you see this video, Raeford Guns on X, and that's at Guns Raeford. You will be able to find it. If not, we'll put the link on our page. I think it's already there. We want to thank Christian1057.com. Give them a listen. 105.7 FM, your source for hope and inspiration. It's what faith sounds like. And the Hoke edition of the North State Journal. For How None.
Let me just say
sorry,
one thing.
pause.
So just so everybody knows, the Roundtable Talk podcast, the last one we did, which, by the way, we're in episode 130.
Oh, I messed up, didn't I?
The episode 129, we got over 12K. That's 12,000 views, and we want to thank you very much.
And everybody send us $1.
$1.
Thank you very much for viewing us, and we appreciate it very much. Even if you don't like us and you still view us, thank you very much.
They hate it. They hate it. Thank you for listening. How None.
Ruben Castello.
Oh,
Chris
no,
Holland.
time
Yeah,
out.
Chris Holland.
One more.
It's me, Chris.
How None. Ruben Castle. Chris Holland. Y'all have a good day.